Up front, he won in Silverstone. He won in Austria, picking up his third win and further cementing his championship lead. Peter Giordano in the Aston Martin, your race winner here in Russia. Your race winner for the Singapore Grand Prix, Jack Pemberton, comes across the line. Your championship winner, back-to-back, is going to be Peter Giordano in the other Aston Martin. It's an Aston Martin 1-2.
Lee Hall, P19 to P5. My driver of the day, Travis Robinson, and Jack Fletcher, the Red Bulls, P6, P7. Travis Robinson is your driver's champion. Victor Diaz in P9.
Taking change tires, and Hudson Poole, the young man from Southern California, brings across for a Red Bull win once again. So it is Hudson Poole.
Get going, so I don't think the math is necessary there. Red Bull came in with a 1-point lead. They get a P1 and a P4 to seal the deal in constructors. Hudson Poole with the win. He seals the deal in the World Drivers' Championships as well.
Prix is on Hudson Poole. Cody Lawrence is on the chicane. Hudson Poole is going to do the overtake. Last minute overtake heroics on Magnussen Cube. Is he going to do it also on Max Bowler for P4? He's going to make it happen. Cody Lawrence is your race winner in Canadian Grand Prix. Hudson Poole, he's got the last two positions out of Max Bowler and Magnussen Cube. He's got P. This moment, it's going to be Cody Lawrence coming home in P2 in an exciting race, and that is the Division 1 World Championship for Cody Lawrence in the Mercedes chicane. This is going to be a photo finish for this race, ladies and gents. Look at this. John Swindell's got the outside coming out of the Ville chicane into the final corner. Who's going to be coming out on top? It's going to be Hudson Poole for the win. Here, Ryan Newton. Is that going to be P2? It looks like it is. And Ryan Newton crowns this with an absolutely bomber of a performance. He is now officially World Champion, Division 1 ZRL, Mr. Newton. Have yourself a day.
Through goes Hamilton! Unbelievable!
Brains as well. OG, welcome in the broadcast
Yes.
booth. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Well, I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to see this championship battle. As mentioned before, it's between Ryan Newton and Cam Bourne. And if we take a look at it, as long as Ryan finishes within the top 14, he's guaranteed a championship. Cam Bourne needs a lot of luck. He needs Ryan to finish above P15 or higher and win the race himself. But that's not the only thing going on tonight. We have big battles all across the board. P3, P4, Marcel and Quentin, they're going at it. From P5 down with Jordan, Maxime, Nathan, Freddie Rozelle, they're all battling for that P5 position. So it's pretty competitive throughout the board. We see the midfield. Kyle Blevins is 11 points off of Magnussen Cube, who's just 15 points. Like, it's really close throughout the field for the Drivers' Championship. And then for the team championship, the constructors championship, Mercedes is in the lead there as Ryan Newton is spearheading that team, but you have the Ferrari, Red Bull, and Alpine close, looking to steal that P1 position from him.
Yeah, I gotta say, OG, it's probably been the closest battling I've seen all throughout our ZRL seasons here in Division 1. The midfield, it is absolutely a massive battle. Like you mentioned, from Beaulieu all the way down, basically. A lot of things could happen from those drivers. Actually, I should say Jordan Kwan all the way down. The Aston Martin is being very closely knit together this season. And even the constructors, the top four, nothing's guaranteed. So anything could happen tonight. Very important to remind our viewers, we're having full qualification here, so we're going to do Q1, Q2, Q3 tonight before hitting our 50% race distance here. Most drivers here are ready to go. Some of them are on intermediate tires, and as I'm saying this, a name we haven't seen in a while, Mr. Jeffrey Lawler, the Dago. he is back on the grid after 2, maybe 3 seasons of an absence. A driver who's hated Hudson Pool massively for the championship. Remember that very last race of the season in Coda, where Jeffrey Lawler almost won it. And in the end, it went to Hudson Pool. Well, he's back, so he's really excited to be out here, and well, we're excited to see him back. And there's got a couple drivers that are new on the grid as well. We see in the McLaren Joel Guron as well. He's a Division 3 driver normally. It's a practice race for him, right, OG? It's a practice race for him, but he's one of the drivers who's in a very good position to be winning the Division 3 champion. It's a 3-way battle between him, Kiwi, and Avira mostly. So it'll be interesting to see how he could fare up in Division 1 as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He's one of the fastest guys. Well, he is the fastest guy in Division 3, and we see it, you know, a last to first, or he outqualifies someone by 7/10. And so you look at a D3 guy and you're like, what is he doing on the D1 grid? And I don't think he's going to, you know, get a podium or set the world on fire, but he definitely belongs amongst this group.
Yeah, Joe Guron, for me, feels like a very hot or cold driver. It's either he's really fast and really on it, and he could do some really great things on track. Sometimes it just doesn't work out for him, and those kind of situations tend to go from bad to worse. However, this season, he's been performing. He's been really great on track, doing really good things for his team in Division 3. So it'll be nice to see where he could fare up. I think for him too, he would like to see where he could bring in the heat there here in Division 1. Obviously, he's on a reconnaissance lap there currently on his intermediate tires, so we're not expecting anything too crazy on times. Only 2 drivers so far have set times on soft tires. Other drivers are all on intermediate. So we have Jeffrey Lawler with 125.9, and Eric McNerney, who is also another reserve, a Division 2 reserve for Williams, who's 7/10 behind Lawler currently. So we're still early in this first qualifying session. The track has not been worn down. It's not been, it's not very warm on the track currently. But things will change pretty rapidly, especially in the second section of this qualifying session in Q2. And yeah, I'm also just taking a look. Other reserve drivers worth noting: Nick Hamrick, who I believe, actually kind of forgetting, last night, I think he won the race officially against Jack Fletcher, which came down to the wire at the very end of the race. Nick Hamrick, who's replacing actually Quentin K. So Quentin K is not there tonight. Essentially one of those battles between Quentin K and Marcel Paps, as you mentioned earlier, OG. It's not going to take place, but Nick Hamrick is, I got to say, he's taken the same kind of disease that Quentin has, which means being an absolute quali merchant last night in qualifying, beating me I was in P2 and he was almost 3/10 ahead of me, with a really strong qualifying pace. We'll see if he could get that or do even better again this session.
Yeah, I believe it was a 24-8 that he set last night, and
Yes, sir.
That's really competitive. It is, I mean, obviously top of the timetable there in Division 2, but even if you look at Division 1, a lot of the guys, they're shooting for 0.6s, 0.8s. I think people like Nathan Doan, who aren't necessarily in the battle for pole position, but they're going to be high up there, and they're setting 0.6s, 0.7s, 0.8s. And so Nick Hamrick, although same thing as Joel Guron, he's a different division here, but he certainly has the pace of long, and I think he could surprise a lot of people tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. 10 minutes to go in this short qualifying session. We're expecting most drivers to at least go for their first run within the next couple seconds here. We've got Magnussen Q, Nick Hamrick, Jan Breton, Stellas Repas, all on their outlaps currently. I do believe, just to make sure I don't have anything wrong here, on the grid line, you'll see Albon and Hulkenberg. Obviously, that's not going to appear during the race. We're going to be 18 drivers. We've got 2 reserve spots, I guess, that are open currently for this race, so it's not a full grid we have tonight, unfortunately. A lot of drivers seem to step out at the very last minute here. I think a lot of people tend to assume maybe that Ryan Newton has got that championship kind of secured already. And I mean, he does have a three race win streak currently, 3 wins in a row, and he's been very dominant lately. So curious to see if If Newton's going to do the same thing in a Mercedes again tonight, if somebody could challenge him, though, you know, it's I don't think it's the easiest track to run away with all the DRS on the slipstream. It's not the easiest to run away from the pack, as I've experienced last night. A lot of people seem to be surprised by how slow we were, but in reality, we were just tugging everybody ahead. Me, Hamrick, Schrei, Fletcher were really pulling a lot of drivers ahead in front of the pack. How about we go in cam view here with Nick Hamrick? He's starting his fast lap, OG. If you want to walk us through this lap here.
So he's going full throttle through the first 2 turns, turn 1 and 2. This is the first braking zone of the lap. This is a tricky section right here on this left-hander. You got to get the slip angle right. Nick Hamrick misses it just a little bit. He's going to go full throttle into our first DRS zone. You can take a deep breath. Sector 1 is basically over. There's a lot of time there, though. And Stelios Repas at 25.8. And this little right-hander right here is, in my opinion, the most difficult corner to get right on the entire track. It's so easy to go wide, so easy to go deep, lose the rear, whatever. We're coming up to Cobb's corner, flat out. I think he could use a little bit more of the track there. Maggots and Bex, it's coming up. This again, it's so easy to unsettle the car if you hit, you know, the little sausage curves right there at the end. Got to hit it just right. And he's going to have a little bit of a slipstream too if he uses it. No, both those cars are out of the way. Coming through that second DRS zone to end the lap, entering sector 3. Another heavy braking zone to enter the final corners. Easy on throttle, don't want to throw it out. It's so easy to lose right there, and he's going to come to the line and set a 25.4.
Solid lap time for there. Nick Hamrick setting the quickest time in Q1 so far. 4/10 ahead of Stelios Repas, who's also gone out on softs. Jeffrey Lawler, McNerney as well. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of drivers maybe going a little bit faster or improving on their times, as we have Magnussen Cube and Jan Breton coming in one after the other across the line. Magnussen Cube, OG, is 0.008 of a second right behind Hamrick. It is so close. It just shows that a Division 2 driver, Hamrick, is very comfortable here in Silverstone,
absolutely.
and that is a strong qualifying lap. We should see Cal Blevins. Trying to catch an eye on him real quick. Oh, he just went across the line, actually, third. Nicholas Arrow should be coming across, and that's going to be the quickest time, and he really smashes that time from Nick Hamrick at a 1:25.1. Nicholas Arrow, who's was a McLaren driver, had a bit of issues completing races and being competitive in McLaren. Team principal decided, you're done. And all of a sudden, we find him in an Alfa Romeo, and he's been performing quite well lately in the Alfa Romeo. And well, he's showing once again he's a qualifying merchant. Honestly, I think he's been doing very well qualifying wise in Division 1 this season. We'll be looking to continue and improve on that next season. Marcel Paps currently in P2 at a 1:25.3, so they're 2/10. Him, Hamrick, Cube are over 2/10 behind Arrow, and Nathan Doan just coming across the line a little bit earlier in P5. I gotta say, the Ferrari drivers, Paps and Doan, in qualifying sessions have been doing very well this season. Doan isn't another. Absolutely right. I was just gonna say, Doan is probably the most improved driver in qualifying sessions between last season and this season.
Yeah, he's been flying. Him and Marcel have both been phenomenal, setting up the car in the Ferrari garage, and it's really paid dividends, as we're going to see Ryan Newton eventually, the championship leader, will set a lap. His first lap was invalidated, but he's about to come to the line right now. But yeah, Ferrari have been phenomenal in quali. Marcel Paps has been great all season long, so I'm hoping he can continue that into the final race.
Yeah, and Ryan Newton, as you mentioned, has finally crossed the line, and he is P3, 257 off of our Nicholas Arrow, so he just lost himself between Pabst and Hamrick. Magnussen Cube currently sitting in P4. He is retired from the session. He feels confident with his lap time, and I'm assuming the top 5 all feel confident with their lap time. And just to show how phenomenal Nicholas Arrow lap time is, if you look at it, it's a 125.1, right? You got 2/10 behind him, Marcel Paps, but from Marcel Paps down to P10, it's basically 3/10.
Yeah.
So gain or lose a 10th could set you up several positions, which is really, really remarkable how close it is for the top 10. Obviously, we don't have a full grid. So at the end of Q1, positions 16 to 20, well, in this case, will be 16, 17, and 18, will be eliminated. And the 3 drivers who are currently in the hot seat is Joe Goron, Eric McNerney, so 2 reserves, and Jordan Kwan, who's back out in his outlap in the Aston Martin. I'm not sure if he's already done a lap on his softs already, or if he just was on a reconnaissance lap, but he may be using his second set of softs here in Q1. And he's out a little bit early as well. He wants to make sure he's got clear track. However, with 3 minutes to go, OG, he may fall upon some traffic during his quick lap.
We mentioned, we see a couple of drivers retire. Nathan Doan, both Ferraris. But we see Yan in P10, and there's a lot of fast drivers there behind him. Obviously, it would take, all those drivers setting a good lap, but I don't think he's I don't think he's particularly safe. I'm not sure I agree with his call to retire so early.
Yeah, there's several drivers who are retiring pretty early, and really interestingly enough, Nicholas Arrow is on an outlap, so he's in P1. I don't know if he's aware that it's a short qualifying session. He's decided, well, you know what? He's actually on his worn tires, so I guess he just feels like going out on a lap just to see how it feels. I guess he's not going to be using those worn tires in Q2 afterwards, though. But, yeah, there's several drivers, as you mentioned, drivers like currently in P9, Beaulieu and Breton are drivers that we should be seeing them maybe going out on a lap, and that's not what they're doing so far. I'm wondering if I'm having camera issues. Actually, I can't switch cameras with the numbers anymore. I gotta go one by one. But I'm just gonna keep an eye. Actually, Eric McNerney currently sitting in P17. He's currently on fast lap. I don't know if you want to walk us through this one, OG.
Absolutely, we can do that. Oh, he goes super wide. He's sliding all over the place. This is not going to get him out of that P17 position. He's going to be really up on his time here. Down in P17 in that Williams car. It's just really unsettled through Sector 1. He's going to need... He's 2/10 up. This is a struggle lap if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
Just wide. Failing to hit apexes. The car is just not behaving the way he wants it to be. And with a minute to go, that is just not something you can cope with.
Yeah, I mean, track evolution is rather slim between the beginning of Q1 and the end of Q1. Looks like McNerney's struggling a little bit out there. Maybe he could salvage this near the end of the race, or near the end of his lap. He's at the end of Sector 2 there. He's 1.3 seconds off the pace from the leader. Yikes, I don't think that's going to be doable for him tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be rough, but he's a seasoned veteran in Zoom Racing League. He's raced in all divisions except maybe the Forgotten Division 4. And so while he's in P18, there's no position he hasn't been in so far. He'll know how to adapt in the race. He's just going to have to get comfortable sitting in his chair for the next 30 minutes.
Next across the line, Joel Goron in the McLaren. He does improve on his time. He's P13. However, behind him, it's Jeffrey Lawler and McCamick and Simon Costin. So several drivers who earlier in the session were able to do a little bit quicker than him. Simon Costin, for some reason, by the way, showing up as average pepperoni on my telemetry. It got me really confused on who in the world that was. So Costin, the pepperoni, actually pushes Goron into the hot seat there in P15. One more driver to go faster than him would eliminate him out of Q1, and that is done thanks to Duncan McCormick. Absolutely crazy lap from him. It's a 25.4, I think, of what I saw. 2/10.5 off of the P1. What a lap by Duncan McCormick. That is vintage McCormick we've seen here tonight.
And Stelios Repas there again, 25.4, jumping to P5. So, you know, two guys you don't really think of being in the top 5. They both set great laps to finish out Q1.
Now, is this maybe something to come for the rest of the qualifying session? If we could see Duncan McCormick, I'd say in the top 8, that would be absolutely wonderful for him. He'd be very happy with that. And that is it for Q1, OG. We've got all our drivers through. So that's quite sad, I'll say. Simon Costin is eliminated from Q1 in the Mercedes, the second driver there in Mercedes, along with Joel Guron and Eric McNerney. Way off the pace. I was expecting maybe a little bit better for Simon there. And, well, Mercedes and McLaren and the Williams are gone from our first qualifying session. Q2 will be underway in just a couple seconds here, in a couple moments. We're back here in the second section of qualifying Q2. John Ranger and OG Campbell, your commentators here. OG, we had an interesting first qualifying session, seeing 2 reserve drivers. We would expect that. 2 reserve drivers being knocked out from Q1 drivers, one of them being from Division 3. However, Nick Hamrick really showed he was ready to rumble for this race. Had a great session there in Q1. At the expense of Simon Costin, the second driver in Mercedes, while Mercedes is trying to solidify their position as D1 Constructors Champion. Last night with the Division 2 Drivers Championship and the Division 2 Constructors Championship being completed, kind of solidified the combined Constructors win for Mercedes. However, you mentioned earlier in the beginning of the stream, OG, you talked about battling for the Constructors. It's not official yet for Mercedes in Division 1 for the Constructors, which might be a little bit of a fail, I'll call it like that. For me, P16 for Simon Costin, but a little bit more of a difficult season for him this year. Yeah, I mean, Nick Hamrick on his end for Red Bull, well, replacement of Quentin Kay, who is himself a quality merchant. He's doing great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you really hit all the markers. We saw several risers in Q1. We saw Stelios, we saw Duncan, we saw Nick Hamrick. But the big story was Simon Colston, who didn't make it out. And as they're fighting, particularly Ferrari, with Nathan and Marcel, who showed tremendous pace. Well, Simon didn't make it, and while I think Ryan will be fine, he did invalidate his first attempt. And so they're Mercedes maybe potentially struggling a bit more this weekend than we've seen throughout the rest of the season, certainly in the past few weeks. So it's something to keep an eye out as the battle for the Constructors' Championship bangs on.
Yeah, several drivers are on their outlaps currently here in Q2. The Ferraris of Doan and Pabst are out, Newton as well. I'm trying to find, currently I'm seeing all these drivers on worn tires. I think, yeah, every single driver on track currently is on a worn tire. So they're Q1 tires. They're going out there to set up a lap time. Here's the thing, OG, you know, Q2 probably has the biggest track evolution we can see right away off the bat. In the beginning of Q2, you suddenly feel like there's a lot more grip, especially here in Silverstone. Some of the corners, especially Luffield, turn 7, the right-hand corner where you say it's easy to go wide or
Yes,
out,
yes.
you know, step out your rear a little bit, which is absolutely true, by the way. But suddenly you feel a lot more grip and a lot more confidence going through those corners, and you have to push your car just enough to get the maximum grip and the maximum speed out of your car in through those corners, which, well, it's much easier said than done.
Yeah, absolutely. These cars are difficult to drive, but they're super fun. They're planted, and as we get through Q1, Q2, and then Q3, they're just going to be faster and faster. So I'm excited to see what Nicholas goes to. Only 25.8, obviously, on used tires, but...
Yeah. Just to give you the information, it's 18% wear currently on Nicholas Arrow. So, I mean, that's not even remotely close to what we're going to be seeing.
Crazy.
The thing is, however, OG, people, drivers behind him, Cal Blevins and Maxime Beaulieu, have put in some times, and their tire wear is significantly less than Nicholas Arrow. Nicholas Arrow went out on track a second time on those tires, so technically speaking, he just pulled a 125.8 on 3-lap old tires, which is 4/10 quicker than Maxime Beaulieu on much fresher tires, given they're not brand new. But man, is Nicholas Arrow shopping for a pole position here?
Oh,
and I say that, of course, the second I say that, Ryan Newton is there to make me look like a dumbass. 25.5, Ryan Newton. Well, yeah, I mean, he's been on a complete other planet since the mid season. Honestly, it looked like this season, you know, Cam Bourne, Marcel Pass, and other drivers had a chance, but with 3 wins in a row, Newton put all those chances on his side. He called out a dominant performance in China, and he delivered. So, I mean, you know, he's in a situation now where he just got to finish in the top 14 to secure his championship.
Yeah, he's been on an absolute tear. He's only missed the podium twice of the races he's competed in, and with 4 wins, looking to add 5 to that this weekend. He's been absolutely dominant this season.
Trying to find myself, has there been another driver out there on fresher tires maybe? But Q2, usually we don't see the fresh tires until the second run, so on the last 5 minutes. Red Pass is on worn tires as well. We've got the bottom 4. We have Jan Breton, Hamrick, Kwan. Oh, Kwan is on fresh tires, so we'll see where Kwan and Cam Bourne maybe can bring their cars up to. Maybe on fresher tires. Jordan Kwan didn't have a great qualifying in Q1. Maybe he's going to go out there on fresh tires in order to put himself in a better position possible. He may use 2 fresh sets of soft tires to achieve that. We'll see if he can get in the top 10. And meanwhile, well, Marcel Paps, who's a quality merchant of his own, at a 125.5, so that's 200s quicker than Ryan Newton there. A strong performance for the Ferrari driver for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned Cam Bourne and Jordan both on, you know, newer softs. Cam Bourne, as we've mentioned, is fighting still for that driver's championship, but you know, he went a little bit unnoticed in Q1. I'm hoping to see if he has some sort of crazy pace up his sleeve in Q2 or Q3, or the championship might be over really before it begins here in this race. It's not difficult to overtake by any means, but when we see the level of fast drivers we have on this grid tonight, it's going to be very difficult to cut your way through that field.
Yeah, Cam Bourne, if there's one thing I think he could improve on, is his qualifying pace. But as he's probably one of the best drivers out there. Well, he has been this season, but I gotta say, over my commentating career, OG, and I tend to not talk about this enough, I think Cam Bourne is one of those drivers we're just so used to seeing him in a McLaren just doing his own thing and carrying McLaren on his back. It feels just so normal for him that we don't really talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, but suddenly Ethan Patel drags him on into an Alpine, and I mean, you should have seen the reaction of the team principals. They were really upset seeing Cam Bourne going into Alpine. Dan was about to call it quits already for McLaren when Ethan Patel did that. And I mean, it's just how underrated this guy is. He can improve on his qualifying pace. He's about to cross the line now. Actually, he's well. There you go.
Oh, there
the
we go.
quickest
We were
time.
just talking about.
Yeah, that was the fresher tires talking there. So 25.2. We might see 24s at the end of this second session of qualifying. But just to complete on my thought there, Cam Bourne has been systematically in the top 3 drivers, season in, season out in Division 1. He's a good driver, a good teammate. He knows his setups well as well. I mean, I've been seeing him a lot more often in the booth as well in the interview sessions this season. I mean, I think Cam Bourne is one of those drivers I really wish throughout my career I would have had the chance to drive in the same team as him, to just pick his brain a little bit, get to know him a little bit better. You know, he's a bit quiet in the paddock. He just does his own thing, but damn, he's a quick driver when it comes to race pace. Doesn't get into any incidents or almost never. And just, does what he's got to do, and he does it very well.
Absolutely, and so did Jordan Kwan, putting that P2. So we see both of the new tire runners, pretty separating themselves from the rest of the grid. Obviously, they're going to put on new tires, but 2 tenths ahead of Marcel and Ryan Newton, Jordan Kwan.
Yeah, it's a solid times. It just comes to prove, again, how the fresher tires get so much more grip, so much more pace on a 1-lap qualifying pace here in Q2. Maybe makes the drivers wonder about how they can do as well and during the race pace, during the race trim, full fuel. Do you wait it out, or do you try to undercut, or maybe try to protect your tires by overcutting and getting the pace towards the end of the race? Definitely was part of my thoughts last night. During the race. Maxime Beaulieu, another driver, he went out on fresh softs as well. He's just behind his teammate Jordan Kwan in P3, and we saw Duncan McCamick and Ryan Newton, McCamick in P7 and Newton in P6, been the latest drivers making fast laps. And I believe everybody's in their end lap currently.
I think Nathan Doan is on a lap right now. He's headed towards or in Sector 3. Just got a little bit of a tow from the cars behind him.
Oh, he sure is, yeah.
And he's 5 tenths up right now. Obviously, his first time is not representative of 26.3. This corner right here, this final one, so difficult to
It's going to be a very important lap for him here. There you go.
25.
That's a 25.4, yeah, P4. Worth noting, with 4 minutes left, I don't think Doan has the time to go back into the pits, put on fresher tires, and go back out. So that's basically it for him. Now dropping to P5, thanks to Ryan Newton, who's gained 2 tenths on the lead with a much quicker lap time on his end. So I'm seeing drivers deciding not to wait till the very end of second qualifying before making their laps. With three minutes to go, there's a lot of drivers in the pits currently who are actually just waiting maybe the last 30 seconds before going out. And Nick Arrow as well, dropping a few drivers down a place in P2, less than a tenth behind Ryan Newton. I'm curious to see who's gonna beat his lap time there in Q2.
And look at that P10 spot, or really from P9 down to P13. They're all within 1 tenth of each other, and so it's going to be an absolute dogfight. Magnussen Cube is on his lap right now, trying to get into the top 10, but that battle for that final position to head into Q3 is going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, this is, OG, I wish you would have been here with me all season, because this is what I've been seeing the entire season. If we did the entire season with full qualifying, this is exactly what you would have seen week after week after week. It was, like you mentioned, I think the right word is a bloodbath. Cube,
wow, Matt Cube again,
look
dude.
at that. Magnussen Cube with a P2, 125.1. What is that? Less than 2 thousandths ahead of Nicholas Arrow. 93 and 95 thousandths off of pole, or quickest time, I should say, in this session. Not officially fighting for pole here in Q2, but Magnussen Q making great work in this lap, so he's got a lot of pace going here. However, we still have 2 minutes and 5 seconds to go. many things can surprise us until the end of this session for sure.
Yep, and it looks like the next driver to start his lap is going to be Eruption or Marcel Pabst.
He is
He's
going
sitting
in.
on the edge right now. So here we go. Marcel, as he starts his final lap in Q2 to stay in Q3, goes through Abby. Full throttle, little bit of traffic. Hit the brakes as he's going to head towards Loop. Goes pretty deep in there. Get the slip angle. Hit the throttle. I was actually watching some telemetry of you, John Ranger, and you take that corner very uniquely, I would say, as Marcel is going down the Wellington Straight, headed towards Brooklands and Love Field. He's gonna hard on the throttle. He's not all the way there yet. Goes a little bit wide there. The car stayed, but don't know how much time is lost as he's headed towards Cop's Corner. Up next, Maggots. Full throttle, easy. Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel as we head towards the Hangar Straight. Loses it just a little bit. He's absolutely on edge right now. This is not a perfect lap for him, but all he has to do is remain in the top 10. Going down, hit the 100-meter board. Oh, can't tell if it's a lockup or if I'm just seeing things, but heavy on the throttle there. He's going to come to the line. Not going to be a 24. It's going to be a 25-2.
It's a solid lap nonetheless for Marcel Pabst, despite a couple issues, I think, across the line. It should be Jan Breton. I don't know if he's just starting his lap. I believe he's just started his lap. Jeffrey Lawler, I believe, is starting his own as well. And am I seeing Nathan Doan try to make it across the line, but he is too late officially. Just on the cusp. And I think he used up some fresh tires just trying to get there. So he's feeling the heat. OG, he's P8 currently. A lot of drivers behind him will be in position to improve. A driver we haven't seen a lot so far, Ahmed Abdullahi, the team principal in the Alfa Romeo, currently sitting P15. He's completely off the pace. I don't think he's had a significant proper lap time. He is improving so far. Will he be able to improve enough to get in the top 10? Here he comes into the Vale chicane. That is turns 16, 17. Last corner turns 18. To get to the finish line. Will he be able to get it out of the bottom five?
Wow.
And he does. That's going to be a P10. Who is going to be able to do better than him? It's going to be Nicholas Hamrick in P6 and Kyle Blevins as well. Abdullahi is out of this session. Nathan Doan is next to be eliminated. I was going to say he was P10. He is now P11. He got bumped down by Stelios Rapas in P5. Jeffrey Lawler, his turn to get across the line. He is currently P15. Will he be able to get into Q3? He does. He eliminates Jordan Kwan and Maxime Boller. Both Aston Martins are out. Next across the line, it should be Marcel Pabst, but he is safe, and I think he's on his end lap. Yeah, he's going slowly. That is it for Q2. Both Aston Martins are out. Nathan... Oh, sorry, no, not both of them. Just Bollier. Yes, my bad. Just Bollier is out of the of Q2 session. So Jordan Kwan survives that heated elimination battle. My goodness. Bollier, Doan, Abdullahi, Breton, and McCamick, who we saw in the top 5 in Q1, finds himself in the bottom 15. Doesn't look like... I don't think he had a lap at all. I don't know if he invalidated or if he had an issue. We didn't get to see him, but looks like Q2 was not it for him. And he's going to start the race in 15th position, OJ.
Yeah, it is unfortunate to see that glimpse of pace. And, speaking with Nathan earlier, I know he's 6 to 7 tenths faster than what he just showed. And so he was, again, not going to fight for pole necessarily, but he's going to fight for high positions. And to be stuck with a P12 sucks. For Duncan McCamick, to kind of have your hopes crushed a little bit. You go into Q1 and you're like, okay, I'm really here. This is going to be my race. And then to have it shut down so hard in Q2 is a little bit of a shock as a viewer. But it was a phenomenal Q2 there at the end. Everyone's flying off the board. What a great finish.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're watching right now our top 10 finishes and our bottom 5 drivers being eliminated, I've got to note one thing really important here. Jeffrey Lawler, let's just remind ourselves, we know he's one of those top tier drivers here at Zoom Racing League. OG, he hasn't raced in maybe 2 seasons. Haven't had a word of him. I don't know if he's been playing this game at all. He's P4 in Division 1. It just comes to prove that, I mean, he hasn't even raced with us in F123 yet. He shows that out of the blue, drives the very last race of F123. You know, next game is coming out in, what was it, next week, in 2 weeks. The physics are going to change again. And, you know, Lawler, as steady as a metronome, is in the top 5 in Division 1. And I'm sure he's got a lot more pace that he could go find so far. So I know he's been practicing. I've been in practice lobbies with him, but his pace is just off the charts. Yeah,
It was
great.
pretty impressive. The person I was most impressed by that qualifying session was Magnussen Cube. We had Ryan Newton, Marcel Pabst, Jeffrey Lawler, and Nicholas Arrow in the top 5. And then that 5th position, who was actually P2, was Magnussen Cube. So he's, you know, at the front of all of those guys, some of the fastest guys in America, and the championship leader. And so for Magnussen to be up there is very impressive. And I'm excited to see what he can pull out of the bag here in this final qualifying session.
And I'm putting up the standings again on the stream, OG. Magnussen Cube is currently sitting P9 in the championship standings. It's 3 points between him and Freddie Rizal, which he's not here tonight, so officially he'll at least gain that 1 position. But with Nathan Doan being knocked out, that's P7. Maxime Beaulieu also being knocked out ahead of him. Yes, there's a 14 and 17 point difference between them and Magnussen Cube, but with that qualifying performance he's given, if he could... it's going to sound like a meme here, but I mean, if he could do something like manage his battery just a little bit better than he's done in the last races, probably he could get himself potentially a podium. He's been actually doing really well lately, but he empties the battery completely and ends up not being able to race people.
Yeah, we see he's had some good performances. A P5 in Australia definitely has the pace to perform, and he's close. The championship battle is close. So if he has this pace here, he can leapfrog 3-4 drivers in front of him in the standings and maybe secure P6, which is a big jump from where he's at right now. So this is a big make or break, not only for... We were thinking it was going to be for AlphaTauri with Duncan McCammack's performance in Q1, but it seems like Magnussen is going to have to, you know, carry that pressure that he's put on himself and the team.
Yeah, absolutely. 10 minutes to go. It's a much shorter qualifying session here in Q3. Multiple drivers going out on lap. I'm seeing worn tires for Stelios Repas, worn tires for Newton, likewise for Blevins, not for Arrow. Those will be fresh tires. Cube is out on worn tires as well, and I think the Jordan Quan's got fresh tires as well. So, and then here comes the race strategies. Some drivers will have to decide if they're gonna do a double fresh set of softs if they have it available for the qualifying session, or which was a decision I made last night. Am I gonna use a worn set and then my final run on the fresher set of tires? Why? Because, well, you never know if there's a safety car near the end of the race that will warrant a soft set of tires. And, you know, we could see the difference between a fresh set and a slightly worn set of softs. So imagine during racing conditions how that is amplified. Yeah, it's a lot of strategic decisions for these drivers out there, but everybody's out on track. 10 drivers out, and we're going to have Ryan Newton to begin his lap. First, he's on worn tires, but let's get on board with him, OG, and watch how he does it.
Yeah, this is the championship leader, and so I'm excited to see how he does it. He's been one of the fastest drivers, and if we look at historically, Ryan Newton, you know, he came from Division 4. He came from the academy. He climbed through Division 3. He climbed through Division 2. Now he's a Division 1 champion, looking to be a 2-time champion of the world, and he's going through the Wellington Straight, headed towards Love Field and Brooklands. This is one of the fastest guys in America, consistently setting, you know, top 200 times, top 100 times in time trial. And so while I don't necessarily think this lap is going to be his lap, I am beyond excited to see what he sets for his final lap this season. going through Maggots and Beckett's to hit Chapel, down through the hanger straight here in a second. And this DRS zone is, especially with traffic, we're going to have like 4 cars wide going in to Stowe. I think it's going to be phenomenal racing. And we're seeing just a little glimpse of it in qualifying. Just a little bit of traffic ahead of him as he's coming in to the final 2 corners. Up to the Hamilton straight, the GOAT, Ryan Newton, sets a 25-2 as his first lap for the first lap of Q3.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen any 24s yet in Q2. We might be seeing some of those very soon, but for now, most drivers are on worn set of tires. Tyler Strepas, who had a not so easy third sector there at about 25.9, born in P2 with 125.5. Cube brings it in at 125.9 as well. Next across should be Nick Hamrick, also on scrub tires, through the Village chicane here, about to get on the Hamilton straight. And will he be able to do better? Well, that's still P3 for a 125.7. So, I mean, on an equal playing field with the drivers, with the scrub tires, he's probably the quickest one out there. And our first sub 25 goes to Nicholas Arrow. He's gone out on the brand new soft tires, 24.9, which we expect to go even quicker because, I mean, officially that's not quicker than Division 2 pole. So the question is, was Division 2 pole just out of this world, or will these drivers, yeah, or are all these drivers going to end up, getting under 125s on their lap times? That'll be really interesting to look at. I think Marcel Paps, he's on fresher tires. I'm seeing purple sectors on his readings. Let's see where he slots in.
Oh, he invalidated.
He did invalidated. Yeah, he did. So that is it for him. He did do a 125.3, which would have put him, I think, P4. But yeah, invalidated, so he's in on his lap. Unfortunate for him, that was a fresh set of tires that is wasted. So basically, every single driver currently, we're in the final 5 minutes of Q3 OG. Most drivers are going in the pit lane to set themselves up for their final run in the qualifying. We don't have formation lap to talk about it, but how about a word on race strategy? What kind of tires will these drivers be selecting, and what kind of setups do you think some of these drivers opted for this race?
Well, I think the setups are a little bit trickier than normal. I've heard rumblings of a lot of different variations. As for the strategy, I was hoping you could enlighten us. What was it like on the grid yesterday? What were the tires feeling like? What did you think the optimal tire strategy was?
I mean, I'll be very honest. I got completely caught up with an undercut, both by Nick Hamrick and Schrei in front and behind me. Both drivers decided to pit much earlier. I mean, I started on hard tires going through the mediums, and my initial strategy before my engineer said, no, you're getting undercut, you have to pit to save your race. I really thought I could have gone at least 15 laps, maybe 16 laps on the hard tires, and they were past 50% when I pitted, and that was lap 13, I believe. Or maybe 14. So honestly, I felt good. I know that the grip wasn't optimal, but for me, I felt very comfortable going long on the hard tires and eventually getting on the medium tires to get the maximum grip out there. However, Silverstone, the nature of Silverstone is the pit lane being at 60 kilometers an hour, which is below the standard 80 kilometers an hour as you see in most other tracks. Well, it makes it's a very long pit lane. You lose about 21 seconds. So if you get, if you get caught out there and you get undercut, it's very difficult to go much longer and keep the pace to do better. Now, I also am hearing a lot of different kind of strategies out there. A lot of drivers last night went from medium to softs. So that might be why some drivers are using a set of worn soft tires and eventually going to use a fresher set for the race as well. I'm not sure if I would use the soft tires during the race pace, but again, I think that's the beauty of F1. It really depends on how these drivers decide to go. And I believe I'm hearing a driver, I think that's Cal Blevins.
Yeah,
2 minutes 50. Yeah, Cal Blevins seems to be coming out of the pit. Nick Hamrick is going to follow suit right behind him. Marcel Paps as well. So we're seeing our drivers coming out of the pits. It's going to be a long and slow warm-up lap, trying to optimize the tires. Look at everybody coming out of there almost at the same time, like clockwork. Division 1 is, right? Well, they're going to spread themselves out a little bit on the track. And the objective here, well, it's get as much heat through the tires as you can. And here it is for the final moments of Q3. Who will be on pole? We have Nicholas Arrow with a significant advantage so far. However, he was on brand new tires compared to most of his competitors. OG, the thing I love to do with Nathan Doan, I'm going to teach you a little Canadian thing. A loonie is a $1 coin, which is a loon. It kind of looks like a geese, basically, which is the design on the coin. And I always ask them the question, if you had a loonie, who would you bet it on for pole position tonight?
I think you got to bet it on Ryan Newton, right? You know, he's going for his 4th win in a row. He's going for his 2nd win in a row. If anyone's in the groove, if anyone's in the zone, it's going to be him. However, we're seeing Nicholas Arrow come in here, light the grid on fire so far. And so he's definitely in play. But, you know, gun to my head, Looney on the table. We're going Ryan Newton with a 25.483 as the predicted pole time. And so we're excited to see how it's going to end up.
I absolutely love it, OG. A 24.4. That is, I feel like it's doable. I think it is very optimistic. But if there's anybody that could prove me wrong on that, is definitely Ryan Newton. As Cal Blevins, he's about to start his lap, and you'll walk us through this lap, OG. I think I'm going to put my Looney, and I just love going for the underdog or the surprise. I'm going to put it on Jeffrey Lawler.
Oh,
I think he's going to bring it to the table. He's going to give it his all, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him have the magical lap of his life right here, right now, and give us a pole. So let's get on board with currently P9 sitter. That's Cal Blevins starting his lap. Let me turn on the Halo HUD. He's all yours, OG.
Yeah, he just went through the Hamilton straight through the view. He's going to make his way up to loop here in a second. It's so easy. He's 4th gear there, goes down to 3rd, halfway on throttle, full on throttle, going up to the Wellington straight in the first DRS zone. He's ducking his head if he can a little bit. He's pretending it's karts. Got to get as much speed as possible as he goes into this left-hander. He's going to hit Brooklands and Lovefield. Going around Lovefield, going around Lovefield, going around Lovefield. Full throttle all the way to Cops as he's making his way there. You know, he's thinking, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? Just chuck it in. Goes down a gear into 7th gear. Still 60% ERS. He's got all the battery in the world as he goes through Maggots, goes through Beckett's. He's going to hit Chapel. There we go. And we're going down into the hangar straight. The 2nd DRS zone. Obviously, we're purple sectors right now. He's the first one to set a real lap. And we're going through Stowe. You got to get early on throttle there. I don't know if it's... Yeah, I just barely missed it. Stayed valid, but definitely messed up. Lost a lot of time there as we go through the valet chicane to enter the line. 25-1. That's still a great lap for Cal. You wonder what could have been.
What could have been? Well, it's his teammate Nick Hamrick. He's going to be P6. And the Magnussen Cube, he brings it on home at the P2. Now P3 at 125.0, but it's Marcel Paps at P2. And Nicholas Arrow, and now Ryan Newton at a 24.694. He gets it done. Next across the line, Stellar straight past Jordan Kwan. And I was going to say Jeffrey Lawler next. If Jeffrey Lawler just retired from the session, he's into the pits. And our pole sitter for the championship race, the very last round here in Season 10, it is going to Ryan Newton, followed by Nicholas Arrow, Jordan Kwan, Marcel Paps, Magnussen Cube. Cam Bourne is only P6, a little bit disappointing for him. Stellar Strapass in P7, Cal Blevins, Jeffrey Lawler, and Nick Hamrick brings up the top 10. 24.694, it's 2/10. Or I'll say 2300s quicker than Nicholas Arrow. But Jordan Kwan, I kind of just read his name and I didn't really think about it.
Crazy.
He's in P3, an Aston Martin driver in P3, just on the cusp of getting under the 124s. What a lap by Jordan Kwan.
And look at that. P3, P4, and P5 are all separated by under half a tenth. Like, they are so close, fighting for that P3 position. It's really exciting. Marcel's in there. And we said disappointing for Magnussen, but he's right there in P5. It's going to be a brilliant start to the race, and I'm really excited to see how this goes.
Yeah, Magnussen being top 5 is definitely a win for him. Real quick, I don't know if I could get the weather up, and it's not connected yet with the telemetry, but I do believe we're gonna have perfect weather for this race as we had last night, which is not looking good for Division 3 tomorrow. OG, I think Division 2 full sun for the qualifying and the race. Same thing for Division 1. I'll pull it up later when the telemetry loads in. I don't know if there's maybe a hint of rain towards the end of the race, but so far it looks very, very clear out there weather-wise. OG, for the very last time, for me here in ZRL through Division 3 and eventually Division 2 and now Division 1 for several seasons. I think my boy Nathan's going to love to hear this one for the last time. I always do this between qualifying and racing. I'm going to crack open a cold one because I need it.
There we go. There we go.
That was a championship winning cracking open beer, and also the last one for broadcasting here this season. Before the race begins, I just want to say a huge thanks to everybody in Zoom Racing League. If you haven't heard the interview last night in Division 2, if you haven't seen the announcement on Discord, it is my final race broadcasting tonight, but the lights are going already. We got 5 red lights here at Silverstone. Our season finale is underway, and away we go here in Great Britain. It's a strong start from Ryan Newton, but does Nick Arrow have the inside right away? It looks like it's going to be a clean beginning to this race. No incidents behind Ryan Newton. Quickly followed, I think that's Marcel Paps in P2. Nicholas Arrow looks like he lost a position on the outside. Jordan Kwan battling with Magnussen Cube in P3 now. Looks like it's side by side, actually, right between them. Look at this. Wow. It is a great battle. Nicholas Arrow, well, actually, Corn and Cube on different set of tires. A lot of different set of tires being used right now. And there is contact with not too many consequences, although Cube will be losing a position to Cam Bourne now. Cam Bourne's trying to overtake him as well. Looks like they got away cleanly, and Cube is back up in front. And side by side, did Jeffrey Lawler just get past Stelios Repas there in P7 with the soft tires? So several drivers going for soft tires. Cal Blevins getting past Repas just before Mackett's and Beckett's there in first lap. That's been doing going well, very cleanly. Marcel Paps making work with his soft tires. He's going to take the lead of this race right in front of Ryan Newton, and he's been blowing away the competition early in this race. Down into Vale Chicane he goes. It's Marcel Paps that is leading the race now, followed by Newton, with Nicholas Arrow right behind, Jordan Kwan in P4, and Cube, Lawler, and Bourne. And I think there's this situation in the back. Duncan McCamick, who had look at that, yeah, he's spun, and I believe he's spun with another driver. I can't see who that is. It looks, whoa. What in the world? That looks like...
Whoa!
That's a full safety car, and that was caught on broadcast. It's kind of hard to tell. Simon Costa looked ghosted for me, but it looked like Duncan McCamick just gave him a proper whack.
Yeah,
committed murder.
Which is huge for the Constructors' Championship, especially as Eruption is leading. This puts a lot of pressure on Nathan Doan to climb up that field, as Eruption and Ryan Newton are kind of even here, and so Nathan Doan's got to get in a haul of points if he wants to secure Ferrari for that Constructors title. But we see Jeffrey Lawler, Magnussen Cube, and Marcel Paps on the soft so early. Does this safety car harm them? Should they go in? I don't think they should go in lap 1, but I do think that the early lap 1 safety car is not the most beneficial thing for them.
I think the lucky thing for the soft tire runners currently is if their strategy is to go from soft to hards or soft to mediums, actually, I would say if your initial strategy to go from soft to hards, just the fact that you have a safety car that you got to do 2-3 laps on this track, which tire wear is significant given the length of Silverstone, maybe you could switch your strategy from soft hards to soft mediums. We'll see where those 3 drivers decide to do. And what has happened with Jeffrey Lawler? It looks like he did a lot of practice with no drivers. He's just tumbling down the order. I can't spot him. There he is.
Going to the pits.
He's going to the pits, and he got a 5-second major penalty for contact with the driver in front of him.
Jordan Kwan.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, confusion a little bit. I guess Lawler did a lot of practice on his own on the track, but with 20 other drivers in front of him or around him, things get a little bit more complicated. He's going to serve his 5-second penalty right now. So luckily for him, that is, I guess it doesn't impact him too much because, you know, he'll get back in the back of the pack. And he has gone for, what tires are we seeing here? Those are hard tires. I mean, I got to tell you, OG, hard tires are not going to go till the end of this race. Unless he wants to finish the race Hamilton style. What was that, 2020?
Oh,
on
3 wheels?
Yeah. He's setting himself up for that kind of finish if he goes all the way to the end. I guess this is not the first safety car he's expecting to see in this situation and wants to give him the most chances on the hard tires. But that's Jeffrey Lawler starting the race. What was it? Well, he started P10 actually. Well, now he's following down the order, and he's now in P17. Carlson out of the race. I'm really curious to see if Carlson said anything in the paddock, in our Discord paddock, if there's if that was.
Check.
Yeah, be curious because it's not a behavior I've seen from Duncan McCormick, I think, ever. But I mean, I guess it's a first for everything. But yeah, that. I don't know. From my point of view, it looked like Carlson was ghosted. And Duncan, if he saw the same thing as I did, probably assumed that would happen to him. He'd just drive right through, and it looked like Carlson got caught out.
Yeah. Duncan confirms that he was ghosted. Simon was
Wow.
ghosted and then spun straight through him. Simon is, you know, understandably upset by that.
That is interesting. We're seeing several drivers going to the pits now. Actually, so still in the safety car. We're about to start lap 4. I think I just saw Joe Goron. Yeah, Joe Goron and Duncan McCormick into the pits. Duncan McCormick on the soft tires. I'm not seeing any damage from my perspective here. No, I don't see any damage readings either on the telemetry. And Joe Goron on his end. Well, fresh tires, and I think he's on the hards as well.
That is such a cool thing to see. Obviously, they're not in a great position right now, but Joel Guron and Duncan McCormick being the last 2 positions. If we go back to season 4, both of them, they were in this. I think it was actually switched. Duncan was P3 and then Joel Guron was P4 to have a all Honda lineup 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, things are a little bit different here in this late season as they're now at the back of the pack, but. Just thinking of old memories here at Silverstone.
Yeah, and to add to the confusion, well, both Goron and McCormick on soft tires. So they have a free pit stop. They're just going on with their strategy. I guess they're not changing it. They're just continuing with fresher softs than everybody else out there.
It is a brave strategy. I'm curious to see how it works out. Something that we talked about in the Ferrari garage, which, if we look down, maybe still could come into play. I'm not sure what Nathan Doan's strategy is, but Ferrari was really fond of the soft tires this weekend. I don't think, barring something, another safety car or some strange incident, I really don't think we'll see the hards come out of that garage. And so maybe some other teams like the McLaren or the Joel Guron McLaren or the AlphaTauri share the same sentiment.
Well, safety car is going to be going in this lap. The real thing we're going to keep an eye on is Marcel Paps. He's currently leading. He's not got into the pits. Soft tires are a little bit worn. Not much more worn than Ryan Newton's mediums yet. And with drivers like Arrow and even Magnussen Koo, by the way, he's P4 with those soft tires as well. So I'm going to keep on board with Magnussen Cube, see how the race restarts goes. We're entering the Ville chicane. The safety car is in the pits. Marcel Paps, yeah, it looks like he's increasing his pace in the Ville chicane, and he's out there. A little bit of a slip on the rear for Nicholas Arrow. And we're back into racing mode. Green flag, green flag, green flag it is. And Paps still in the lead. Matt Newton, Arrow, Q behind. I don't see any battles or incidents in the back. It looks like Duncan McCamick and McNerney, actually, Goran and McNerney in the back, they're having a battle there. They look a little bit disconnected from the group a little bit, so I don't know if it's the driver that maybe didn't have a good race restart, or if they barely got time to catch the queue there. And DRS
Eric
has not been reactivated there. Sorry, go ahead, OJ.
Eric had a pretty poor start in comparison. Everyone was pretty, in line, but he just got caught off guard, and Joel Garon and Duncan McCamick, especially on those brand new softs, right? They just have so much better launch, especially in that final turn onto the Hamilton straight where it's so easy to lose your rear, and they just took advantage of it.
Yeah, exactly, and it might take a lap or two for those hard tires to get back into the proper racing temperature as Joe Garon gets past Duncan McCamick, just getting into Maggots and Beckett's. That was a risky move. There's no DRS though, so he get past him and not be afraid that he'll get past him through DRS again. Just 5/10 now that separate Marcel Paps and Ryan Newton. Nicholas Arrow is still very closely following Ryan Newton. DRS is not going to be activated at this lap. It's going to be at the end of the next one, lap 6. Which Marcel Paps gets the fastest lap, 1:28.4 currently. Expect that time to get lowered later on this race. There's going to be quicker opportunities to do so. But still, there not a lot of overtakes so far.
Nick Hamrick, absolutely. He cuts into the side of Tanel Ahmed. Tanel, I think, stayed alive, but Nick Hamrick, his race is not ruined by any means, but he's now at the back of the pack, potentially with big wing damage.
Well, from what I'm seeing, he doesn't have wing damage at all, and I don't know if that's just my telemetry, but his wings are green. Let me put it up for our viewers here. There you go. You see the car damage and the tire wear. So it looks like Nick Hamrick, despite a strong contact, that's not something I saw in the back there. Good eye, by the way, OG. And does Abdullahi have any damage? He seems clear as well. So an incident in the back, and Nick Hamrick finds himself P17, and his teammate Cal Blevins with a 3-second time penalty. That does not seem to be helping the Red Bulls whatsoever in this kind of situation. With Quentin caught out of the race tonight, Hamrick has got a lot of a lot of weight on his shoulders, and currently P17 with that incident. Not the best situation for the Red Bulls.
Yeah, it was in a kind of a dangerous part of the track, right into Abbey. They're both going, flat out. Hamrick tries to take the inside line, just goes wide into the side pod of Ahmed, and luckily there was no more damage, just, fell down the grid, but he lives to race another day.
Look at that. Duncan McCamick with the fastest lap, 1:27.9. Definitely helped with the slipstream that Paps doesn't have. And we're on board with Lawler, who it looked like he was going to run right into the back of Maxime Beaulieu.
So close. Wow.
Yeah, he's really close to it. But that's Jeffrey Lawler. He's in very much, usually he's in very strong control of his car. DRS has been activated, and on the inside, what a move there. Jeffrey Lawler on the inside of Maxime Beaulieu. Will Maxime try to get side by side here in Luffield? It doesn't look like it. It looks like Lawler's got the better grip, better exit out of Luffield and down the Woodcott. Turn 8 and 9 into Cops, and that's another position gain for Lawler, who's dropped several positions earlier on. It looks like he's got a little bit off track there. Maybe a warning for him, but he's battling it still. So far, Marcel Paps on those soft tires, despite having drivers behind him getting closer and closer thanks to DRS. For sure, I don't expect him to run away with it. Now we'll keep an eye on, will his tires keep carrying him? For how long his tires will be carrying him, essentially, until Newton and Arrow really take advantage of the situation.
Yeah, the soft runners will die down eventually. I did a couple of sims, and I actually did get a puncture going way too long, but we're seeing him fly. Duncan McCamick, he was at the back of the grid at the start of the safety car, and he's one of the fastest drivers on track right now. He's he's been looking at a move on Maxime for a while now in P13. There's a little bit of contact there, but I'm curious to see when these softs are really gonna die, because so far they're holding up well.
Oh, I think that's a surprise, right? They definitely are holding up well on a track where tire wear is usually a little bit heavier, and there's a lot of traffic there. Duncan McCamick wants to get past Maxime Beaulieu, but Beaulieu's trying to fight Abdullahi and Lawler and ahead, so there's a four-way battle for P10 essentially with those 4 drivers. Yann Breton is not too far in P14 trying to be a part of the mix there. So it's going to be a DRS battle between those 4 drivers, and McCamick looked like he was going to pull a move on on Beaulieu, but that would have been way too risky given the situation, but he is making his presence known.
Wow.
He's really close to him. Will Duncan McCamick get on the battery? Yes, he does. Maxime Beaulieu is also on the battery to defend, and everybody's catching up. It's going to be a pack of 4 cars here in the Stowe, as Duncan McCamick goes a little bit off track. Doesn't get the move made, but Maxime Beaulieu does get a position on Abdullahi for P11. And Abdullahi again spins, and it's not multiple times he's done that. There's a bit of a contact, and this time Duncan McCamick gets past him, and this is going to be another 4-way battle, but now Abdullahi has to defend from Yann Breton and Joe Goron. There's a lot more action in the back of the pack than in the front, but what great racing we're seeing here tonight, OG.
Yeah, this is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And it seems... Oh, and Joel Goron, just a little bit of contact with Abdullahi. He's going to settle. He's going to still have the DRS. He's going to make his run on him. But back to Duncan McCamick. He's been flying right now. I want to note for the future, Duncan McCamick looks particularly fast in Stowe. He seems to have a lot more confidence than other drivers getting early on the throttle. I don't know if it's that just because of the softs, but I think once we switch tires, it's something to look out for. Again, Maxime and Duncan always seem faded together, especially I think their first ever contact was in Silverstone.
It was.
And so it just seems so faded that they're doing this again here in the final race of the season.
Maxime's very first race was here in Silverstone, and the contact came just before the Wellington Straight in Aintree. Looks like I forget which driver did what, so they came in contact, and Beaulieu flew into the wall off of the Wellington Straight on the right-hand side. I'm sure he's gonna pull up the video later tonight and do one for sure. But now he's got to defend himself from McCamick again. McCamick, it's a long way from the glorious Red Bull days where McCamick was the team principal there, but he's kind of reliving a really good moment here. Yeah, he's fighting for P11, but it's been a while since I've seen McCamick fight for position so hard, and he's really in a position to do so, and might be bringing Maxime Beaulieu here for another position if he could get the better exit. It's a strong exit here. Beaulieu is on the battery to defend himself a little bit. McCamick is a lot more conservative. You can see on the live boards right now who has a lot of battery and who doesn't. And worth noting, drivers like Ryan Newton and Cam Bourne basically are not touching their battery whatsoever.
Yeah, there's big battery discrepancies throughout the field. And I noticed that throughout Cam Bourne. I think it was Spain, where they just don't use battery until they absolutely need to, and that's something I struggle with as a Division 3 driver. I think I'm more in the Eric McNerney camp of just burn it all. So we're interested to see how that plays out throughout the rest of the race.
Well, absolutely. And speaking of burning it all, again, it's the usual tactic for Magnussen Cube. However, it's working for him. He's really letting himself get dragged along by Nicholas Arrow thanks to the slipstream. And Silverstone, is the nature of F123. I'm really curious to see how F124 is going to turn out. But I think in F123, more than ever in Division 1, we've been seeing massive DRS trains with drivers just waiting until lap 25 or the very last lap before making their overtaking moves. So curious to see how these drivers are setting themselves up. But Magnussen Cube on soft tires is upwards of 50% tire wear currently. Lap 11 on those softs. It's a similar situation, a little bit less tire wear for Marcel Paps. And in the pits, again, Duncan McCamick, he's coming out, Joe Goron as well. And those are on the medium tires. both of them. So we'd be expecting them to do that's 15 laps on the medium tires. Yeah, that's an interesting strategy. I think it's a little bit longer than
Especially
mediums.
because they were on the newer softs, right? Well, I think
Yes.
maybe they had used those in qualifying, but they were on the relatively newer softs, and so for them to go in early like that, I think Duncan was still making waves. I think he could have maybe gotten up into that P10 position, but he's been right so far, so we'll see if he is again.
Yeah, maybe let himself, do what maybe Magnussen Cube decided to do, which is let himself be pulled by the drivers in front of him, while Marcel Paps, who didn't have anybody in front of him to let him pull him, has gone into the pits. And doing so, Ryan Newton is now activated his battery a little bit more, so is he just setting it up for a recharge, or will he try to maybe lose Nicholas Arrow with the extra battery that he has to try to get past that 1 second gap? A little bit of a rear wheel spin there for Ryan Newton, which, without revealing too many things, I guess is to be a little bit expected. And well, look at this. Well, Nick Arrow, he's following closely. Magnussen Cube is in there with his no batteries. And other drivers we haven't really mentioned, but we're looking at Jordan Kwan, P4. So far, so great for him. A good qualifying. A very respectable... I'm going to call this a very Cam Bourne-esque kind of race for Jordan Kwan so far. But he does have the real Cam Bourne right behind him.
Right behind him,
Full
yeah.
battery. He's just waiting to pounce. But Cam Bourne is a very, very patient driver. So we'll see where that leads up for the rest of this race. But, so far, if we look at our biggest winners and our biggest losers in this race, Nathan Doan with 4 positions gained. McNerney with 6 positions gained as well. Obviously, we're in the midst of pit strategies. So Marcel Paps losing 9 positions. That's to be expected. He's going to gain those back sooner than later. Multiple drivers going into the pits. Magnussen Cube and Jordan Kwan into the pits. And a 3-second time penalty. I think that's the second one for Duncan McCamick, isn't it?
I think the first one will get waived. It happened so early in the race. I didn't see any of it, but I find it hard to believe that he went over 3 times in the first opening lap without some sort of interference. But this one definitely seems legit. The first one, I don't know.
Yeah, and did Kwan have a penalty too? It looked like it took a while
Yes.
before his...
Kwan's penalty from Dago with the safety car, he just had to serve that 5-second penalty for contact.
I did not
which
see
was
that
pretty
one.
devastating. I mean,
Yeah.
he's sitting up high in the top 5, but now we got 2 Alpines both on the same strategy. The hard sitting P3, P4, Cam Bourne, Stelios Rapas. They're doing great.
Yeah, doing great. One of them is going to have to delay their pit strategy. One of them is going to have to maybe go for the undercut. I think maybe Cam Bourne's going to try to do the undercut, which is quite powerful here. It could happen as early as this lap right now. So we might see Cam Bourne, which right now has DRS and slipstream from Nicholas Arrow. So even on those hard tires, he's in a situation where towards the end of this race, he might have the better tires and could set himself up for moves. Will he try the undercut? No, he's going to stay out. I think he's going to wait for one of the top 2 drivers to dive into the pits. So it's a little bit of a game of chicken there for the top 3 with the pit strategies being triggered. So we should expect drivers to begin pitting anytime soon, really, starting now. I don't think anybody else has gone into the pits either. So we're starting to see some drivers creep up to the top 5, We're seeing Cal Blevins, despite his 3-second time penalty, which seeing the number of drivers right behind him, that kind of hurts him a lot, sadly. But he is currently in 5th position. He's having a respectable race on his end.
And we saw, Eruption, I think, went in 1 lap before Magnussen Cube, 1 lap before Magnussen Cube, and he's already got a 4-second gap on him.
There you go.
And so, I mean, we saw Magnussen was holding on by a thread with 0 battery, just praying and praying for DRS. And I don't know how he's going to get back into that position he was without someone to help pulling him along.
And that's where I make these comments about Magnussen Cube. He's been doing great in qualifying, very solid racing pace, using drivers in front of him to pull him along. Now, sadly for him, he's found himself in a situation where he goes into the pits. He's back out on track. He's got nobody ahead of him, nobody behind him. He's kind of stuck in no man's land. He's got no energy in his battery left whatsoever.
Is that Jeffrey Lawler nearly had contact with Nathan Doan and Cal. Saved it, spun out though, I believe.
Yeah, it looks like it was in Stowe, which I don't know about you, OG, if you've been practicing, but Stowe is one of those corners where you think you could just full throttle it going on the exit and no problem, and then the rear of your car tells you no, and before you know it, you're meeting the Grim Reaper. So it's the kind of the corner where you think you'll take it faster than what it looks like, and eventually you get major consequences. I'm wondering if Jeffrey Lawler may have been victim of a snap there. 3 drivers into the pits, right past Blevins, Doan. So we're seeing a little bit of a shuffle currently. How many drivers have done their pit stops? Just about everybody except the top 5. So Newton, Bourne, Arrow. Speaking of Bourne, he just got past Nicholas Arrow. That is just before going into Cops. So had a much better exit out of turn 7 in Lovefield. So I'm wondering if something happened with Nicholas Arrow there. His medium tires there were on reaching 60% wear. We're at 50 for Cam Bourne. He's got the extra battery as well.
Yeah, that was phenomenal. And just looking down the board just a little bit, Duncan McCamick into P9, right behind his teammate Mag Cube. So a great recovery race so far, but Cam Bourne staying out as Ryan Newton and Nicholas Arrow go in. Oh, wow. That's pretty big.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, well, that's sadly for Nicholas Arrow, and a couple drivers were caught off guard. I believe Cal Blevins as well was caught off guard by that. Well, now there's 2 things. Arrow with the 5-second time penalty, that is devastating for his race. And Cam Bourne staying out, not following Ryan Newton into the pits. That's technically an undercut. We'd be looking there from Newton and Arrow on Bourne. He's being a lot more aggressive on his battery wear as he's going down the Wellington Straight. I'm wondering if he's setting up for a potential pit or trying to protect himself from that undercut. If he goes into the pits this lap, I think he might regret it. But yeah, given the tire wear and with 10 laps to go this race, he's gonna have to.
It's huge. Magnussen Cube with a successful undercut on Ryan Newton and Nicholas Arrow. Duncan McCamick is on the tail of Nicholas Arrow right now. And so phenomenal strategy so far for AlphaTauri. They've made it back up into like net leader positions. So really, really great race so far from them. Obviously, will they hold it with 10 laps to go? I don't know, but so far great calls. Now it's just time for them to have great racing.
Yeah, and I mean for Q, for him, he's essentially in P4 with Beaulieu and Breton still having to pit. Well, Bourne as well. We'll see. Well, Cam Bourne, I was about to say, we'll see about Cam Bourne. He is going through the pits right now. So I'm going to stick with Cube, actually. Keep an eye on him because he's got the more aggressive kind of undercut strategy. Right behind him, Ryan Newton is on the battery. He's going to go on the outside of Stowe here, and that's going to overtake him for P6. Newton had the undercut already made on Bourne last lap. So I expect Ryan Newton to get past him. Will Bourne end up... Where will Bourne end up? That's actually what I'm trying to figure out. He's just on the exit now, just about to get past the speed limiter on the exit. And look at this. Well, he's dropped several positions. 2 Newton, 2 Cube, 2 Arrow. And he's going to get right in between Nicholas Arrow and Duncan McCamick, who's actually full pace behind him. And Cam Bourne is on the soft tires.
Yeah, so we got Ryan, Nicholas Arrow, and Cam Bourne all on the softs with Eruption on the mediums. And Jeffrey Lawler, he's the net leader, I believe.
He is. He's done. He has done. Yeah, he has done his. Well, I mean, I'm gonna say yes, but no.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
there's no way those tires go to the end of the race. If he does, I'm gonna strangle my kitten. I don't know. I don't expect those kind of things to happen. I don't expect Lawler to make it till the end. Breton's in the pits, and your ooh tells me something happened in the back.
Well, I'm on board with Duncan McCamick, and coming out of Beckett's into the Chapel curve, you know, he just threw that rear out, and he's sliding around a little bit. Luckily, he got it back in Stowe. Like I said earlier, he's really confident in Stowe. Several seasons ago, as Ryan Newton's flying, Nicholas Earl's flying, Duncan McCamick was actually taught the championship leader at the time. I cannot remember his name. Something Robinson. Like he was way faster.
Travis
than
Robinson.
Yes, Travis. And so, I just wanted to look forward to that. He's sliding everywhere, but you know, this is a good track for him. I'm really excited to see how he goes. Mac Q gets overtaken, I believe, by Cam Bourne there.
Yep.
0 battery left.
Well, here's the thing going on. Surprisingly, multiple drivers are very low on battery. Like Cam Bourne had to be very aggressive on his ERS, where because he wanted to catch up to not lose out on the DRS, and he had the grip with the fresher tires. So he finally caught up to Cube, got past him. His next target is Nicholas Arrow, whose tires are. Let me pull that up real quick. Nicholas Arrow, we're looking at around 23% tire wear, no battery on those softs. Right behind him, well, Cam Bourne just reached about 10%, and I think he might be making the move here. He's looking on the inside of so no, he lifts just before going into that corner.
Oh, way better run though. Oh, no, he's not going on the inside. I thought maybe he was going to look for an inside move there.
Yeah.
He's going to be patient, wait for the Wellington straight.
That's kind of the nature of Silverstone, at least for this race. I mean, it's not worth going side by side and fighting for position, because the time lost from doing that allows everybody behind to catch up to you so quickly here in Silverstone, and you end up essentially lose time to the guys in front, and that's not what Cam Bourne wants. Gives a little bit of a switchback. Will he get DRS though?
What a move!
Yes, he
dude.
does.
What a move!
An absolute Cam Bourne classic here. The season finale in Silverstone. Cam Bourne is on P4. His next target is Ryan Newton ahead of him. But now with the battery situation, we'll have to see. And we've only got 7 laps to go. Lap 19 of 26. This race is nearing its end, but it's been an absolutely wonderful race so far. Absolutely.
And, you know, Ryan Newton's closing in towards Marcel. At various points of the lap, it's been on that 1 second cutoff, but right now it's 1.2. But within the next coming laps, we should see him get into the DRS zone of Marcel Pabst, and he's going to go for it. 4 wins in a row.
Now, he's got to get past Pabst.
Oh, as Pabst has a big moment in Stowe. We keep mentioning Stowe.
Yeah.
So he's going to have DRS easily now, Ryan Newton. Maybe potential overtake within, you know, he's within half a second now. Down the Wellington straight. I don't know if he'll do it so soon, but it's a lot closer than it seemed at the beginning of the lap.
Yeah, absolutely. Down in P10, Nathan Doan is caught in an Aston Martin sandwich. He's battling Beaulieu for P9. Eventually, Beaulieu got the better of him, and Quan tried to sneak in the position steal as well, but Nathan Doan successfully defended that. OG, we are lap 20 of 26. And as much as I say Lawler is not going to make it till the end, which I'm keeping an eye on his tires, and I don't think he will. However, he's 6 seconds, well, now 5.8 ahead of Pabst. Pabst has to gain a second a lap just to catch up to Lawler. And with him, he's probably going to drag Newton with him, or Newton's going to get past him, and then that'll be his target, which he's all over the gearbox of Pabst down into Mackett's and Beckett's. He's going to have the DRS run, so I think Newton is very comfortable to gain P2 right now.
As long as they don't fight too much, you know, if they do fight, then Jeffrey Lawler is looking good. They don't fight at all. Marcel's like, yeah, you can get that spot.
That is not a corner you want to go side by side. We've seen so many incidents, even in real life. A bit of a flashback with I believe that was Verstappen and Vettel, which they ended up in the gravel afterwards in the Vale chicane. All right, well, we're at 5.2 seconds, 5 seconds now between Jeffrey Lawler and Ryan Newton. This is for the championship. Newton is in a very good position to secure the championship. A reminder that he had to finish below P14, and Cam Bourne had to win, I believe, as well, to secure the championship, or for Newton to lose the championship. Now he's looking at, will he be able to catch up and get past Jeffrey Lawler? Lawler in the McLaren, it's his first race back here with us at Zoom Racing League. Had a respectable qualifying, and now with a bit of an odd strategy, I will say, is looking at, well, he's been holding the lead for a large portion of this race ever since the pit stops earlier on, just about 10 laps ago. Jeffrey Lawler, I think he pitted lap 4 or 5 at most. He's on those hard tires. I'm going to put up the graphic. Well, the graphic is still up, actually. Look at his tire wear. We're reaching puncture territory by probably next lap or the end of next lap. His front left is at 68%. And, I mean, at this point, go for the gamble, Jeffrey. But right behind you, you got Ryan Newton under 4 seconds. He's being dragged. He's dragging Marcel Paps with him. So, I don't know if it'll go for the win, but it might be for a podium position for Lawler. And that would be a spectacular return. As I had a yellow flag show up for momentarily. I don't know if that was another moment in stow there, OG. I don't know if you saw that one.
Well, I didn't see that particular one, but I did see, I thought maybe there was a little bit of team games being played. Joel Guron, to start, right, in the valet chicane, had completely spun around, and I was thinking to myself, you know, if there's a safety car that comes out, that's perfect for Jeffrey Lawler, but nonetheless, nothing came to it. But that's certainly something to think of. That's more of a 2 lap ago problem. As we get closer and closer to the end of the race, the safety car is not going to come out in about 2 laps. And so Jeffrey's just got to deal with it at this point. 3 seconds and you know, closing in on him is Ryan Newton and Marcel Paps, but also only 4 laps to go. So the end is near.
The end is near. Indeed, it's a strong showing tonight for Duncan McCamick. He's slowly putting himself in a position for a P8 finish. He's got Maxime Beaulieu ahead of him with the better tire advantage for him, and Beaulieu with the soft tires. I think they're kind of dropping off currently. We're also keeping eyes on the times between Lawler and Newton and Pabst as well. We're now down at 2.5 seconds between Newton and Lawler. I think Lawler's tires are really struggling at this point. McCamick positioning his car for an overtake. He's gonna go. He's gonna lift a little bit. He ran out of straight line speed a little bit there to get past Maxime Beaulieu, and so he's gonna have to be a little bit more patient before he can get P8. And the question for Duncan is, once he gets P8, can he run away from Beaulieu, or will he have to really make this a last lap kind of move, especially with Nathan Doan right behind him in P10. I gotta say, a bit of the sad race for Jordan Kwan. He had the race pace, you know, the qualifying, the race pace, everything was going well, and then that time penalty kind of came in and it threw a real stinker in his race there to finish off his season.
And let's think about that. If we look at the time penalty from the other side, Dago doesn't touch him. Dago's 6.5 seconds ahead of Ryan Newton at this point with no 5-second penalty. And so that really saved the race for Ryan Newton and Marcel in their attempts to try to win this, assuming Jeffrey's tires don't explode.
Yeah, well, the front left has just hit 75%. So we're officially in the red, and, well, with the lack of grip comes track limits. He's just gotten himself a 3-second time penalty. So he might be falling off in the results here on the grid, but I gotta say, what a showing for this McLaren driver. I'm sure Dan is really happy to see him performing so well, and for his first race. I think Frank was in the chat earlier on our channel saying that he hadn't raced since the end of season 6. So essentially, we're seeing Jeffrey Lawler pulling in quite a performance, as if he's never left ZRL ever.
Yeah, crazy.
And well, now he's got Ryan Newton right up his gearbox around lap 24 of 26. 3 laps to go, including this one. And Marcel Paps, I thought he was going to throw a bit of a dive bomb there on Ryan Newton. I don't know if he had a little bit of a wiggle, a little bit of a squirrely exit there. Oh. And there you go, Jeffrey Lawler with the late move. That does not faze Ryan Newton. That is our future champion. Oh, a bit of a contact right there, Jeffrey Lawler. And that is a spin. He went a little bit too wide, squeezed Ryan Newton.
has to spin himself around, and he just puts that little extra dent in his tire wear that he probably wouldn't have wanted. And that's a drop down to P6. It looked like a very innocent kind of overtake. The late move, Ryan Newton making the move happen, but I think Lawler's just understeering everywhere. We just saw last lap the 3-second time penalty, and I think he understeered it to Ryan. And unfortunate for him, that's gonna cost him his race. Now can he bring home points for McLaren? We gotta keep eye on that tire where OG, that tire is now at 79%.
Oh, eruption, a little bit of a lockup, so he's not going to be able to pressure Ryan Newton this lap. Ryan Newton may be able to run away with it at this point, but just one lap ago, it looked like Cam Bourne's dreams had come true with Dago, Jeffrey Lawler sweeping up Ryan Newton and collecting Marcel in the process, but it didn't happen. It didn't come out that way. That's the way it was supposed to be. That's how it was written, but this is real life. This is how it really played out. Ryan Newton now leads. Marcel P2, and then Cam Bourne stuck in P3, but with DRS, or soon to have DRS, on Marcel.
Yeah, Cam Bourne, that's another solid performance for him, and he's been on the podium most times than not this season. However, is that enough to beat Ryan Newton? Sadly, as it stands, no it isn't. Ryan Newton is setting himself up for a 4th consecutive race win if Marcel Papska is not in a position to battle him again. I'm going to put up the batteries up once more on the grid. Yeah, Paps has absolutely drained his battery, as has Bourne. So it's looking a little bit more difficult for drivers trying to contend against Ryan Newton. As we're just going through Stowe here, I'm really keeping an eye on our report, Jeffrey Lawler, at this point, because I don't know if he's looking at the track or if he's looking at his tire wear more than nothing at this point. It looks, it doesn't look easy to drive on those hard tires so far, but we've just about to start. We've started our final lap. Ryan Newton is so far in P1. Will Marcel Paps be in a position to make those final lap moves against him?
Oh, he's got DRS. This is a huge spot. I don't think he has enough battery to make up the gap in distance with them. It's not far, but 4/10 with no extra little juice is really, really difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. Off of left field, Marcel Paps is doing a good job at keeping up with Newton. He's also done a decent job at recharging his battery a little bit. He may be able to use it down the hangar straight. We'll see if he's able to make it work. Maybe Newton's tires are starting to struggle a little bit. We're at 73% on the front left for Ryan Newton, so it's getting a little bit more difficult. And this is where it's going to play out. Ryan Newton is this great situation for the championship. Down the hangar straight we go into Stowe. Is Marcel Paps going to make a move happen? He's on the outside. Marcel Paps momentarily takes the lead. He is too wide. Will he go for the dive bomb? Going to the Ville chicane. He tries to outbrake his opponent. And it's going to be Ryan Newton. He cuts it back. Is going to switch back going to work? It is going to be side by side. There's a little bit of contact and both of them to the wall. Newton and Paps going to cross the line.
Chaos.
Absolute chaos. OG, Ryan Newton is our world championship here in Division 1. What a way to crown this championship. Paps doesn't have a wing. Ryan Newton is... well, he's there you go. That's where he is.
What?
What a finish.
What a way to sunset the season. Marcel Paps tries to go for the win, but Ryan Newton, he wins the race. He wins the championship battle just in front of his championship rival, Cam Bourne. That was phenomenal, John Ranger. That was phenomenal.
And the funniest thing, actually, is this is the exact replay of Chubb Tucker and Mateo last just last night.
Yeah,
and look
yesterday.
at his celebration, the bouncy celebration. Ryan Newton celebrating in his car while his tire is doing the bouncy things. What a finish to the season. Maxime Beaulieu is your driver of the day. Finishing in 5th position, by the way, Maxime Beaulieu. What a finish
great
for
race
him.
for him.
Magnussen Cube in P4. Cam Bourne again on the podium in P3. That was a solid race for him. That'll secure his P2 there on the championship, and we'll go down the order in just a minute for our next drivers. Oji, if you want to mention our top 3 for their
Absolutely, yeah.
podium interviews and our championship interviews as well. I'd say bring in no, hold on. Cam Bourne is on the podium. I thought he finished P4, so I didn't say anything. But yeah, I mean, well, this crowns F123 as a whole. The next time we'll be racing in 0L, it'll be F124. Let me go back down the order. Our championship winner, 4 wins in a row, Ryan Newton, followed by Marcel Pabst, Cam Bourne. That is your top 3 podium finishers. Magnussen Cube, strong race, his best race of the season, let's call it. That is P4 for him. Maxime Beaulieu, also his best race of the season, starting P11, finishing in P4. Nicholas Arrow going a little bit more backwards for him. Also Jordan Kwan, P6, P7 for them too. Stellar Strepas, Jan Breton from P14 to P9. Solid race for a Haas driver, absolutely. Nathan Dome, P10. Duncan McCabe gaining 4 positions from P15 to P11. Nick Hamrick, a reserve driver in Red Bull, finishing P12 compared to winning in D2 last night. Cal Blevins in P13. Jeffrey Lawler dropped down to P14, so I'm wondering if his tire popped at the end. We were so focused on the top 3.
Yeah.
I'd love to ask him the question later on in the paddock. And then we had Eric McNerney and 2 other drivers that I did not have the time to see. Apologies for
Joel
that.
Guron is one of them.
Joe Goron, for sure. And Tino. I think Tino actually finished P18.
Yes.
Ahmed Abdullahi and Joe Goron finishing P17 officially on the standings. Oh my goodness, what a race. That was a good one, but stay with us. We are putting ourselves in age review mode. We should have our top 3 in the waiting room anytime soon. Well, we got Cam Bourne already, OG. So let's bring him here on the booth. Feel free to ask him questions if you want to. I'll ask him my first question, give you the opportunity to ask him your whatever question you want, and then I'll close it out. Cam Bourne, again in the podium positions. It's a top 3 result for you. A P2 finish, P2 result for the Drivers' Championship. It was a strong showing, one of the most consistent seasons I've ever seen from you, and you're one of the most constant drivers in this league. Cam Bourne, walk us through how this race went for you. Was there anything you could have done different tonight?
I don't think there's anything I could have done different tonight, no. I mean, I was basically just banking on a Ryan DNF, to be honest, and just trying to finish as high up as I could. I actually didn't do any practice on the soft tires. I just was going to avoid them at all costs, but with the early safety car I was able to extend, and I saw that Ryan went soft, so I figured I might as well just extend another lap and try softs. But I think that was the right call, because I don't think I would have quite finished as high if I went mediums. So
There were 2 moments in the race. Once when Jeffrey Lawler had contact with Ryan, and then there at the end, obviously. In those 2 moments, did you get ahead of yourself? Did you think, oh my God, I'm going to win the championship? Or did you remain composed or think, wait till it's over?
well, I saw the crash with Jeffrey Lawler up ahead, and because they were a little bit ahead, so I wasn't quite sure. I knew it was either him or Ryan, but I knew it wasn't really enough for a DNF anyway. But maybe just a broken wing, and even still, Ryan had to only finish like 16th or something.
Yeah.
So, but on the last corner, I was sure I had it. I saw them
Damn.
crash. I didn't quite know that if they crossed the line or not, but yeah, we'll see.
That would have, thinking about it this way, we've avoided disaster very closely between Pabst and Newton, because they did crash. Ryan Newton did DNF technically, but after crossing the finish line in middle of his spin. So that could have been the championship decider in that situation, quite dramatically. Cam Bourne, a lot has been said throughout the season, and We're now closing another chapter in our books. It's the end of F123, the beginning of F124. A lot of mixed emotions, I'll say like that, towards F124. Will we be seeing Camborne potentially maybe again in a McLaren, back in a McLaren for F124 next season?
Yeah, I guess it depends on how like the draft order is going to play out and if some of the other quicker guys are going to come back or what. But yeah, I'll be back. I was hoping for a bit of a longer break between, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the game goes.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how that plays out. I'm not exactly sure how the schedule is going to be, if it has been released actually to the league, but that is that's currently in the works. Camborne, thank you for your many comments this season. Thank you for a wonderful season, and we will see you soon.
Yeah, thank you for doing the broadcast all season.
Absolutely. Thank you, Cam.
Yep.
All right, let's bring in our P2 finisher, Marcel Pabst, who had lots of ups and downs this season, but successfully finishes this race well in the points. I'm gonna say it in the most Jeremy Clarkson way I could ask my question. Marcel Pabst, how much poo came out during that crash at the very last corner?
Yeah, like I tried to hold the car and somehow get in front of Ryan, and then I had contact with him and I just prayed that I was behind him, because if I would have been in front, I would have got a report in. So it wouldn't be nice, but still I'm happy with P2.
Yeah, it definitely was a wild finish there. Go ahead, OJ.
Well, I mean, yeah, you nearly completely changed the shape of the championship, handing it to Camborne there nearly at the end. You've had, highs and lows this season. How does this race compare? How are you feeling now, headed into the break? Are you feeling good about it? Are you excited for next season? Are you coming back next season?
Well, at the end I'm pretty confident, and if and I hope for the break that I will continue racing, because I don't know if the next game will be good.
True.
Like, if it's pretty trash and I don't get it, and switch to a different kind of racing. If it's pretty nice to drive, then I will get it and race again here in Division 1. But yeah, overall this season it was pretty nice. I think P3 is secured, if I'm not wrong.
I think so, yeah.
And right now we're looking at the combined constructors to beat Alfa Romeo, which we are currently ahead, I think. And we outscored them again this race, which is nice. And I hope Division 3 delivers us some.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna put a nail in Joel Grant's coffin, bro. I'm ending his career.
I'm
going for the win tomorrow. I'll win tomorrow.
Nice one. And yeah, I think we have the potential to finish P2, have some good confidence in the break, and then beat Mercedes, hopefully.
Yeah. Speaking of beating Mercedes, and that's one of my mathematics that it's in my brain that's not functioning right now. But for sure, you've secured P2 at the minimum for the Constructors' Championship there in Division 1. However, Marcel, you being just behind Ryan Newton combined to Nathan Doan, which I completely forget which position he finished at, to be honest. But with Nathan Doan finished 8th?
I think P10.
P10?
I think so as well too.
I don't know if that's enough to get P1 from Mercedes and the constructors for Division 1, because Simon Costin made no points whatsoever, being slaughtered there by Duncan McCamick. But yeah, so and I'll let Frank do the calculations with the spreadsheet, but it may be possible that Ferrari took P1 in the championship for Division 1 and the constructors, despite Ryan Newton winning 4 races in a row. He's won half the races this season. I mean, with everything that's being said, I think everything has been said, Marcel. I think that was one of the best seasons I've seen from you, despite 2-3 races where it didn't go your way exactly, but you came back really strong. And yeah, thank you for your interviews this season, which we had multiple of. And we will see you next season, hopefully.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you very much. And shout out to Nathan Down,
The
the
goat.
probably best teammate I had.
Yes.
Probably at the same height or at the same potential as Magnus and Cube as teammate that I had. And also thanks to Jack, who engineered us in the race for Division 2. And also thanks to Matteo, who was a great second driver in Division 2. And yeah, we'll see about Division 3.
Oh, dude, we'll be fine, dude. It's in the bag.
But
yeah,
I do want to put this in because you mentioned Nathan Doan, and I said this earlier this race, and I've mentioned it earlier in earlier broadcast. But I was telling Goji how Nathan Doan is probably the most improved driver I've seen in Division 1 this season, and it's kind of scary because he was my pace, or I was battling him like for multiple seasons, and now he's going top 5 in Division 1. And you know, makes me feel like poop. But I love Nathan Doan, and he really deserves it. So you know, Ferrari deserves everything they got with him.
Yeah, it was very nice to have him, and yeah, thank you for casting this season. It was very nice to have you, and yeah, we'll see what the future brings.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Marcel. We'll see you around, and that is it for our P2 finisher. Let's bring it in. I don't know if he's got other friends he wants to bring in. I don't know if he was got engineered by the MVP Cody Lawrence, but that is it. 2 times in a row, Ryan Newton, Division 1 champion here in Zoom Racing League, all on a controller. The controller streak continues. One, are you switching to wheel? 2, are you getting F124 and continuing the journey with us?
First question, no, I'm not switching the wheel. Fuck all you wheel guys. Switch the controller. It's the move. Nah, but I will be I have 24. Have that, but I don't know. I won't be immediately returning. I'm switching to no assist, but I think I'll be reserved next season.
Damn.
I mean, I think this is a good way to end it before that. I mean, if I end up being back next season, that'd be cool. But I think the plan right now is not to take a little break.
Good way to sunset your career, eh?
Yeah, think you're funny, buddy. Think you're funny.
Okay, I have a couple questions though. You haven't been, or you've been very vocal about the Mercedes team environment. You know, talking about Mercedes the best, they're the coolest. How important was that team environment for winning the championship again?
I think it played a major role. I think setups, everything, like when it came to strategy, engineers and stuff, I think everything helped. I think it's the reason why right now we've won 2 championships so far.
Yeah.
Hoping some magic happens tomorrow and Vera wins that. But yeah, I think all the guys, I think they worked really well together throughout the season, and I think I guess like the chemistry just got more and more throughout the season. I think that's really helped everybody improve.
Well, good.
I'll add on to that if you allow me, OG, to answer your question. Because,
yeah, of course.
You know, as a Mercedes driver, you get I get picked into Mercedes. It's the first pick in Division 2, and I was in a strong contender position once before with Red Bull, and I kind of dropped the ball. You know, I didn't perform to what I think people expected me to perform. And after the first race in Japan with Mercedes, where I dropped the ball worse than I've ever had before, I was really scared that maybe this wasn't for me anymore, or what was happening. But you know, thanks to Ryan Newton, Simon Cousins was a great engineer, by the way. You know, the resources are there in Mercedes to keep having good drivers, and I think we've seen a lot of drivers improve. Chubb Tucker has been improving throughout the season, cleaning up his racing and being faster than me at some point in Silverstone as well. So yeah, I think Mercedes are set up for a third combined constructors if they put their mind to it. And you know, I've improved a lot this season as a driver thanks to all the help that I got, and very thankful for that, because I also get to put a sunset career myself since that was my last race last night. So yeah, it was a lot of fun this season to close it off.
That was perfect.
Sure was. Ryan Newton, congratulations again for your championship.
Time.
It's time for you to, I don't know if you're the age of doing so, but, you know, crack open a cold one. I'm not going to specify what kind of cold one you could open one. If you're the age, go ahead. If you know, go open
2 shots for two drivers' championships.
2 shots
or
of vodka.
4 for 4 wins in a row, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, meme it up, or do it with the 2 shots of vodka
congrats, dude,
meme and
awesome.
get all that. Otherwise, you know, stick a straw in an apple juice box and enjoy that one as well. So congratulations again, and we'll see you around in the future, Ryan.
Thanks for broadcasting all season.
For sure, thank you. Well, OG, well, just give me your thoughts on about this race tonight, and then I'll give my final goodbyes to Zoom Racing League.
I mean, it was a great race. I think it captivated what ZRL is all about. You know, it's fun, it's fast, and it's enjoyable to watch. And part of that is not because of the drivers per se, but it's because of people like you. You know, you think historically, we've had some pretty great broadcasters. We look back to Chris Hannigan, PBJ, Toto Rivas, Joshua Butler, Buffalo Trace, and I think, you know, now we look at those guys where they're on the Mount Rushmore, and I think you've definitely etched your way onto that as the ZRL GOAT broadcaster. And so I think the race was enjoyable, but the most enjoyable part was doing it with you, and I'm glad I got to experience your final broadcast in ZRL.
Yeah, it's thank you first of all for those very kind words, OG. I think you actually commentated my first win, if I remember correctly, F1 2021 in Abu Dhabi. Back when I was in Williams, and that was the season I was supposed to win. I was in a position to win the championship, and then the game glitched and threw me in a wall in Singapore.
Yes,
in dramatic fashion.
I remember that. I remember that.
So, you know, I close off the books with the championship that I never won. I got it last night. The very last race I get to commentate with a very respectable commentator with me here tonight. You know, it's been a fun, long 7 seasons in ZRL, through broadcasting, through stewarding, through racing, through you know, doing color commentating in Division 2, and then, you know, eventually replacing Rivas, Josh Butler, for Division 1, and what is this, 4 seasons I think now that I do, and always trying to improve myself. I always say this as a joke, that I'm just a French Canadian that with a stutter that commentates, but I absolutely love doing this with ZRL. You know, I think I enjoy doing this more than racing. Yes. I get more passionate about describing that crazy ending we just had compared to me winning the championship last night. But yeah, you know, it's a bit of a bittersweet ending for me, but you know, life goes on, and you'll get new broadcasters for sure, and you know, things will keep going on. When I made that video, that intro video with all the broadcasters, you know, since the beginning of ZRL, at the moment of making it, I had no goddamn idea I would be closing off my broadcasting with the Zoom Racing League tonight, and I'll be honest, I'm a bit emotional about it. You know?
Take a bow. Take a bow.
But yeah, I'm very, very happy to have done this, and it was a great adventure. I won't be too far. I'm not leaving the server entirely. I'm around. So, and who knows if I'm available if need be. Maybe in the future I'll just hop back into the booth, maybe to help out or whatever. But as of now, I'm gonna enjoy my summer without having anything scheduled. Absolutely. No racing, no broadcasting. Just gonna enjoy life a little bit. Take a bit of a break from the whole league racing thing. I've given all I could, and yeah, it is what it is. So thank you so much for being here. If there's anybody still watching this in the interviews, thank you for watching us, for listening to us. If you've not done it, don't forget to like and subscribe. With ZRL is, by the way, very close to being monetized by YouTube. We just need about 100 more subscribers, which is very doable in the foreseeable future. And then you get to watch ads before seeing
Hell
me
yeah.
talk. So I mean, that's the best thing you'd want, right? So
Absolutely.
like and subscribe if you want to watch ads. Basically, is what I'm telling you. Yeah, that's it. What a finale! What a race! This couldn't have gone any better tonight, OG. So thank you again. Thank you, Zoom Racing League. And for the very final time here for Division 1, John Ranger, I'm signing out, and I'll see you. I'll see you sometime, I guess. I don't know when, but sometime. So thank you, and good night, everybody.